Welcome back. So WWDC 2022 has just happened and there was a ton of new stuff. The bulk of which was iOS 16, the next version of the iPhone software, and it was really geared towards personalization, at the center of which is the all-new lock screen. So as opposed to having a lock screen with just a wallpaper that's covered in notifications, it's fully customizable. And not only visually, like on top of being able to just change the color and font of your clock, you can also have it behind the subject of your photo, which is automatically detected, and you can even have widgets on your lock screen, a lot like the Apple Watch. You can even make like multiple layouts that you can switch manually or automatically by tying them to focus modes. Like let's say if you want to have one lock screen while you're at work, another lock screen while you're at home, and maybe like a third lock screen while you're sleeping. Also, iOS 16 brings the notifications to the bottom of the lock screen and notification center as opposed to like just right across the top and covering your wallpaper. I wonder if this is for the sake of like not covering up your wallpaper and like added personalization and keeping the notifications out of your way, or if they're planning to make an even bigger iPhone, and this would of course make it easier to reach your notifications as opposed to reaching up to the top of the screen. Along with notifications, there's also live activities down at the bottom, which is pretty much like a single notification that is persistent and updates in real time, in place of something like a delivery app sending you 3 consecutive notifications about updates. And none of these are like big changes on their own, but when you put them together, it makes a really refreshing and fun experience for something as simple as a lock screen. And there were also a few small changes brought to messages just to help enhance that day-to-day experience. And being able to edit and unsend messages were probably the last things I expected to hear, but they do make sense for just convenience of if you made a typo or if you sent a message to the wrong person. But I did find the option to mark a message as unread to be incredibly useful. There were also some updates to Mail, including improved search, schedule send, and undo send. So last year, iOS 15 brought live text to photos. This year with iOS 16, they're bringing it to video as well, along with some more quick actions, so you just like take action on the text that you're scanning as opposed to like copying and pasting and taking it somewhere else. So you can just pause the video and select the text, which will be great for students that have like recorded Zoom lectures. They can just pause the video and then copy and paste out the text that they needed. But what I think is like magic is being able to tap and hold on an image, and then iOS 16 will automatically cut out the subject, and you'll have the option to share it with a transparent background. So now you won't have to take a photo into Photoshop or manually mask it out and get your subject. You just tap and hold and you're good to go. Also, there's improved on-device dictation, so you can easily switch between talking and typing with the keyboard. I really like the dictation on the Pixel. It's probably some of the best I've ever used. So I'm hoping this brings the iPhone like closer to that. There's also a bunch of other things like a redesigned home app that I think the layout like looks a lot better for, live captions, and the ability to use your iPhone for your fitness app if you don't have an Apple Watch. So that was iOS 16. No like big redesign, just a lot of nice to have features put together to give you an even better day-to-day experience. And be sure to subscribe down below for videos on all of the beta software. I already have it downloaded and installed and really look forward to testing it out. But next up, watchOS 9. And I'm not sure what I was expecting here outside of like health-related updates, but there were some health-related updates. The new Workouts app adds a ton more information when you're working out. You get heart rate zones, custom workouts, and even more metrics on running form, which I don't understand how they were extrapolating your torso up and down from your arm swinging back and forth. Like, that's incredible. I am really excited for the updates to sleep. So now instead of just the amount of time you were sleeping, you get the amount of time that you spend in each stage of the sleeping cycle. There were also some updates to the watch faces and how notifications are presented on your watch, but then it was the Macs. This started with the new M2 processor, which compared to M1 has an 18% faster CPU, a 35% faster GPU, and 25% more transistors, which give it a total of 20 billion transistors manufactured using their 2nd gen 5nm process. M2 also has 100 gigabits per second of memory bandwidth and supports up to 24 gigs of RAM, which is double that of M1. And there's also an updated media engine, so M2 can play back both 4K and 8K video. And this chip is going to be available, I think, next month in 2 Macs. First is the updated MacBook Air, which I think just looks amazing. It's 11mm thick and only weighs 2.7 pounds with MagSafe charging, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, a high impedance headphone jack, a full height function row, and an all new 13.6-inch liquid retina display that does have a notch. It kind of reminds me of a scaled down version of the 14-inch MacBook Pro, except it comes in silver, space gray, starlight gold, and midnight blue with MagSafe cables that match the colorway you pick for your laptop, which you can also buy separately. So if you have a space gray MacBook Pro and you want to have a space gray cable, you can buy that now. And the second laptop was a new 13-inch MacBook Pro, which is exactly the same as the old M1 MacBook Pro, just with the M2 chip in it. So pricing wise, the M2 Air is $1199 and the M2 Pro is $1299. And they're also keeping the original M1 MacBook Air in the lineup at $999. I feel like the M2 Air is just a better deal than the new 13-inch Pro, since you get like MagSafe and a larger screen in exchange for a bit less performance at a sustained load, since there are no fans. Now, macOS has always had a fun name reveal with Apple's crack marketing team, and this year is no different. It's going to be macOS Ventura. And like I mentioned with iOS 16, this is also a lot of small functional changes that just improve the day-to-day experience of using macOS. You have the same messages and mail features that I mentioned earlier, along with improved Spotlight search and handoff for FaceTime. So now, if you're on your Mac or on your phone or your iPad, you can swap devices during FaceTime calls without having to hang up and call back. And there's also continuity camera, so you can use your iPhone as a wireless webcam using a special mount, which I've already started a CAD model for, so I'm gonna see if that'll work before they release their mount. I really want to test out Desk View and just see how it works. Conceptually, it both makes sense and is absolutely wild that the ultra-wide camera mounted to the top of your computer can see a wide enough field of view to build a top-down view of your desk. I definitely want to give this a shot with laptops and external monitors just to see what the actual usable area that you have is on your desk. And the other big thing is Stage Manager, which is pretty much just window management that lets you see one app or a group of apps at once. And I probably won't use this much on the Mac. I just create a different desktop space for every task that I'm doing. But it is also coming to iPadOS 16, which I think is gonna be far more useful. And speaking of the iPad, along with everything I've mentioned for iOS 16, you're also gonna get external display support and an actual weather app. So instead of just mirroring to a monitor you plug into, it's extended and actually fills up the whole display. And with Stage Manager, you can actually have standalone windows that overlap each other on the iPad, with 4 apps on the external display and 4 apps on the internal display, so you can have up to 8 windows open at once. I'm excited to give Stage Manager a shot and see how much closer the iPad is to becoming a standalone computer or a computer replacement. But thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe down below for more videos about tech, cameras, and making. Here's a video about a watch strap, and here's a video that YouTube thinks you're gonna like the best.